Hey everybody. I want to talk about that great little Dickey Betts move. Man, this is a device I've heard him doing for years, and I want to show you what it is. I call it the Dickey Six. Right? What it is that there's 6 notes that Dickey likes to use, and he does them in actually different ways, and let's talk about that. So this lick I was kind of playing upon here, I first heard was in Jessica. It's in D major, at least the solo part, and here's the 6-note idea that he does. Just that. So it's 12 on the high E string, so it's an E note. He goes right over to the 12th fret. So it's a little awkward at first. It's a weird way to start a lick, but it's 12, 12, E to B string, 10th fret on the E string, back up to the E, that's the first 4. And then you change direction and go back to the 10th fret, the D note, and end on the 6th note, which is the B on the 12th fret of the B string. I think he pulls off the last one, but it's really important that that doesn't suffer the evenness of the 6 notes. They're very percussive. It's the one thing I love about Dickey Betts was he was a very strong rhythmic-based player. Right? He built tension and resolution with his execution of like repeated note figures and stuff. That is such a strong part of his playing. I always latched onto that. I loved that part of Dickey's playing. So again, the way he plays this, if we look at this in the key, we're thinking D. And in pattern 1, again, I talk about rock and roll. That's pattern 1 of the Pentatonics. It's a D major song, D major pentatonic. That's that happy Allman sound. That's where I first, kind of discovered this. So put your pinky on the 10th fret. That's the D, that's major. So that's also the same as B minor. People think this kind of is B minor. It is, it's the relative. It works great on other songs that are in B minor. But in D major, there's pattern 1. So it's between the 7th and 10th frets. And the Dickey Six lick, at least the higher one that I showed you there, is in pattern 2, in which the space that I call the king box. So in this case, it's 12, 10, 12, 10, and 11 on the G string. Now, interesting, this lick really caught me. It took me a while to learn this lick when I first heard it. I just had to do it by ear and figure out what he did. And I heard it in other places. He actually does it in Blue Sky as well, which is in a different key and stuff. But let's talk about the lick, what it is, and then how to build upon that to do more than what Dickey used it for your own stuff. So like I said, it's a 6-note lick. He plays it as 8th notes. That's a very big part of this. 1 and 2 and 3 and... But he does it in 4/4 time. You're immediately thinking, well, that doesn't match. And that's the beauty of it. So what it's doing is it's overlapping in throughout the beats. It would actually take, I think, 3 bars of this, 4 phrases to make 3 bars equal out to back on 1 again. I'm sure he's not thinking about it as much as he is feeling when it kind of comes back around. So what does this do when you repeat it? It perpetuates motion, right? Now, right now, we're hearing that every 3 beats, 1 and 2 and 3 and, but in context, I'll play it again in a second, you'll hear it kind of overlapping, and it takes a few cycles for it to come back to the start again. I've never heard Dickey do it in triplets, even though it's a 6-note lick, it would seem very conducive. It's not nearly as exciting. You could definitely do them in 16th notes. It's the same thing as the 8th notes, just doubled, obviously, so it's 6 8th notes. Still presents the cool situation where they wrap around themselves. So you can always associate this in pattern 2 for where he's in this upper lick. So let me just start this little, I had a little loop earlier going just over a D major chord. Here it is here. So it's fast, right? Dickey likes this song is fast. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me play it as quarter notes. And here's again, 3. Now, even if we repeat the quarter notes, and you can just wait. Honestly, Dickey hits a bend after it and kind of lets the tension open up a bit. So I get my 8th note gear going. It's fast, right? You gotta play it slower for sure. It definitely has an effect at the speed it is to create this motion. And I'm pulling off that 12 to 10. A lot of my students ask, am I rolling that 3rd finger? And I am. I'm pretty sure when I saw him do this that he was doing that as well. But you could separate the fingers. So we'll talk about that also for other things you can do with it. So this lick is fantastic, man. I think Dickey uses it to what I think of as a device. It's not a particular lick that he starts at an exact same time for the exact same length in the exact same way. I think he uses it to kind of rev the engine on the momentum when he's trying to build a solo. And again, he's got a lot of strength and endurance. He's very percussive and rhythmic when he plays it. So with that being said, let's talk a little further about this lick. I loved this move. This thing just caught my ear and it was very unusual. And again, I like to think of it as a device. So when I learn licks, I don't just learn them just for that lick and that song for that person, right? This would be great for the cover band doing the Allman stuff like that. That's what you would do. But what else can I do with this move? Well, the first thing you can do is, like as a musician, is you can sequence it. It's really a mini sequence. So for instance, I could move it up and down the same strings in what I call the boxes. There's another video I talk about the pentatonic boxes. Really, it's the top 4 notes or any pair of strings because they always have 2 notes that make a box shape. So this first one being in the king box, if I moved it down to pattern 1, I would have to open my hand up to a 3-fret span, deciding which finger to use. So here's pattern 2, pattern 1. What if I go down to pattern 5? It's actually gonna feel the same as pattern 2 because the spacings are the same on these strings. So here's the original pattern 2, pattern 1, pattern 5. What if I ascend them? Pattern 3, 4. Now I know I never heard or saw Dickey move that pattern like this. That's cool, that's awesome. It's another way to kind of pass the torch. You take something your heroes did, you look at it, you evaluate it, you understand why it sounds so cool, and then expand on that. You could also take this idea across the string groups. So in Jessica, he starts this idea actually in the middle of pattern 1. Right, so here's pattern 1. So he kind of dips in and out of it, building momentum, taking it away. A great lesson in tension and resolution with a musical phrase that's doing this. So you could move this idea across the string groups in a sequence. So let me say if I stayed in pattern 1, go back to the top strings. It's almost getting like a kind of Eric Johnson or Joe Bonamassa sound. Like it's doing a different thing. Again, Dickey didn't do this. That's cool. We can take it further and do other places with it. Maybe you can skip strings. Sounds really, now you're really kind of leaving the sound of the lick, but it's still the same device. So here's one of my favorite little parts to do with this thing is if you go back to the original Dickey one, and I am going to use 2 separate fingers for this instead of rolling, because what I want to do is move the highest note up and back by half steps. can mix it up. You can improvise within these devices, within the elements, right? So you're staggering the layer of information. The Dickey lick, moving a note, you know, the notes just have to work, whether it's a blue note or a scale tone. You have to decide that as a musician. All right, let me play a little bit more and just show you in context how this stuff might look. So here's in the middle of the pattern. It's quarters. Eighths. The other strings. So hard to talk and play that, right? Here's the original. Just some cool ideas on how to manipulate that. You can really conjure up the Dickey mood, the vibe, and you can also kind of take it other places. All right. It's important to learn how to take a lick or something you learn and take full advantage. You spend a lot of your hard time sitting down looking up tabs, looking up videos, watching some guy explain it to you. You learn what frets, you think about the scale. You got to look at the whole picture of it too, right? What is the chord? This is a D major chord. It's a D major pentatonic that he's using. It's cool that he's landing kind of on the B note of the scale. That's one of the color tones. So he's kind of like highlighting the color tone. Once you see that it's a 6-note device, you can now sequence that idea. As a guitar player, up and down string groups or cross the patterns. You can change the rhythm on these ideas. It's really, if you keep asking more of it, you'll find more things to do with it. One last note on the Dickey Six thing. Dickey liked 6-note groups. You also hear this at the end on Blue Sky. He's in E major, but he does a 6-note pattern, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and he does 2 of them, and then he follows it with 4 notes. So he figured out that 6, I don't know if he thought about it, felt it, however he got there, he got there. But there's 6 notes, 6 somewhere, 6 notes, 6 notes, and then 4 notes. And that makes your 16 16th notes. So he knew that if you put 2 of those groups and a last little bit of 4 together, that would work. And that's that whole segue out of the guitar solo in Blue Sky follows that. Well, thank you very much for watching. My name is Suke. This is Lead Guitar Workshop. If you like what you're hearing, please hit the subscribe button, the notification bell. Check out leadguitarworkshop.com. We're online. We have 5 books that we've published. There's lessons that I do online. You can go sign up from there. If you have questions, just hit us up on the, through email, and we'll gladly get back to you as soon as we can. We're here to help you guys. We're here to help you guys play better, help you to sound good, and just kind of understand what you're doing. With that, let me tell you a quick story about my interaction with Dickey Betts and secondary at Duane Allman's guitar. My band Schleho, years ago, we formed in 92, 93, and we played all the way up until about last year. We were playing shows. And back in 2000, we signed on a label with the Allman Brothers, the drummer Butch Trucks, and some members of the crew and the team and stuff, put together a record company called Flying Frog Records. And we were the first band they signed. We had met Butch. He saw us at a show one time and really liked what we were doing. And we met with him a bunch, and it was crazy. The Allman Brothers were like one of my heroes. I used to see them a couple of times a year outside of Boston where I grew up, and we always went to shows. And to now know that I'm dealing with these guys, and he heard us and brought us in. So when they did that, one of the greatest things they did was they put us on tour with Derek Trucks. And his band. It was before Tedeschi Trucks, but it was the Derek Trucks band. And we toured, we did a bunch of shows with Derek and stuff, and got to know Kofi, his keyboard player and stuff, who was one of my favorite musicians ever, was Kofi Burbridge. But one of these times we were on the road, Schlejo, we were down south in Florida, and we stayed at Spirit Farm, which is one of the Allman Brothers houses down, I think it's in Sarasota, somewhere down there, that the Allman Brothers had that was kind of Dickey's house. And there came a chance, we were staying down there one time, and an opportunity came up when they called it Fort Betts, rolled in. And that's when you see a concert on the side of the stage, there's the big cabinet with all the guitars hanging in it that folds out, that the guitar tech can then, change strings and do all the things he needs to do, or she do, before they send it out to the artist. So Fort Betts rolled in, and a person I know who was working with the organization was like, Suke, do you want to play Dickey's Les Paul? I was like, you're kidding. It's like his gold Les Paul? And he's like, yes. Has Jodan's strap, the one that kind of like a Native American bead strap. It's really beautiful. So I took it out, and I couldn't believe it. I put it on, and I was like, this is Dickey's guitar. My first reaction was it was tough. The action was a little high. He had probably 11s, it felt like, and it was a tight tension for a Gibson. But I could feel it. I mean, I immediately it put a smile on my face, right? So I couldn't believe I was sitting there playing, ran through just, what do you do when someone hands you an axe like that? I mean, you don't know what to do. I think I blacked out for a little bit or something, But it was so exciting. And then after that, my friend says, do you want to play this? And it's like a National Steel acoustic guitar with the resonator plate in it. And I remember thinking, like, on the cover of one of the more recent Allman Brothers albums, Shades of Two Worlds, I think Dickey, was playing it on the porch of the picture. I was like, oh, is that the one that Dickey probably played on Come On My Kitchen, this Robert Johnson song? And I was like, is that Dickey's? And he's like, no. And I got, like, immediately hesitation. Like, what? And he's like, it's Duane's. I was like, that's Duane's guitar? And he's like, yeah, Dickey owns it, but it's Duane's guitar. And I just sat down, and I remember I hit some harmonics or something, and I got like just shivers. I could not believe I was sitting in my lap with Duane Allman's National Steel guitar. It was a moment I'll never forget. How close can you get to your favorite gods? I mean, what else is next? Hendrix's Strat in my lap? Like, I mean, how much closer to these couple of guys to do these things? So it was really privileged to see stuff like that, to get to see behind the scenes how these guys work. I met Dickey a number of times. Our sound engineer ended up being his engineer for a decade. So we got to see and know these people very intimately, and it was wild to see the process of, they were my heroes, to then working with them and going with them and stuff. So love the Allman Brothers, love all that stuff like that. Keep playing out there, guys. Keep adding, keep going, keep asking more of what you're doing. Enjoy the trip, and keep playing some guitar out there.